Item number 6, discussion about the 2017 budget, general fund, public works, and miscellaneous. Staff.
I want to start off by bringing some information to you guys. I got asked a question last night, and it bothered me. So I don't know how many people of you guys are out there or someone who prays and tries to seek answers that hopefully from someone that's greater than us to receive that information. But the question I was asked last night was, who's our secret informant on this budget? And as soon as I was asked that question, it kind of disturbed me because it's one of the few times I've ever been asked that in my entire city management career, and it kind of shook me down to my bones in the fact that currently right now everybody's sitting on this podium and sitting over there who are all the people that are directing us on an everyday basis, and as a council that gives us direction as a community on which way we're going, is that we're not on the same page. And for us to ask the question and have an accusatory question about how we're not currently all on the same team and going in the same direction bothers me. So when I was praying about it last night and all day today, and I didn't come to peace until probably about a couple hours ago. And at that point in time, what I want to state to you guys is what peace is given to me. The budget you guys have before you tonight, I want to take it and redo it over the next couple weeks and bring you guys back a budget that is in line with what our current budget is. I don't think as a council, I don't think as a staff, we're prepared to go forward with the current budget that I was presented to you guys here tonight. The current budget I've given you guys here tonight is probably 75% past practice, and then another 25% split between the directives I thought I had from council and what staff recommendations were over the last year and the conversations I had from them and what they submitted for their budget request. I put those three things together and put those numbers together for you guys to try to accomplish several different items, including economic development, growing the community, adding higher quality of life, and doing that all within our budget parameters. I think this budget does that, but it doesn't do it with the buy-in from myself, council, or the city staff at this point in time. So what I'll be asking is for you guys to let me bring you guys something in a couple weeks that was going to be it's going to be in line with what we're currently doing, current staff, current positions, current directives, and us have a conversation about where we want to take this community. I absolutely, positively agree with John Wood, and thank you, good doctor. At our last council meeting, he said we hadn't done a strategic plan. In June, I know that we had our retreat. At that point in time, I had given you guys a capital improvement plan with the 3/4 cent capital improvement sales tax money, how it was going to be expended over the next 15 years, and what areas we were going to take that $17 to $19 million and utilize it in order to make Guthrie the highest quality of life we can and the greatest community we can, trying to reach its potential through different capital improvement projects, purchases, and what direction we want to go in that area. At that point in time, you guys had given me information that the capital improvement plan should be a supplement to our strategic plan, and that was a plan that hadn't been given to me until that point in time. So in July, I had Andrea contact all of us and ask that you give us your information about what you would like to see the city become within that strategic plan, and then at that point in time we'd come and update it. No information was received in July, so again we sent that same request out in August for us all to share the information and create a singular strategic plan, and at that point in time go out as a team, as a community, as one voice, and execute that plan. We still haven't done it to this point in time. And I will stand right here, right now, and take full responsibility for that today and going forward. I want you to be able to talk to each and every one of these wonderful staff members, talk to myself, and go through each and every department, ask all the questions you have, and then come back and make decisions 6 months, a year from now, whatever we feel comfortable with. I think more than anything else, my desire is for us to communicate to each other, listen to each other, understand each other, and finally be willing to sacrifice for each other. And at this point in time, I'm not comfortable sitting here today to tell you guys to approve this budget because we're not ready to sacrifice for each other. I don't think we've listened to each other. I don't think we've communicated properly. I don't think we have an understanding of where we want to go. And finally, I don't think we're ultimately ready to sacrifice, much like my beliefs of what my Savior did for me. And I don't want to get away from that principle as a person, as a city manager. And I want to make sure that when we make a decision, each and every person over there, each and every, the other 135 approximately employees that we have working with us, know exactly what we're trying to get done and what we're trying to get accomplished. And we could sit here and go into the weeds and talk about this budget until 2 o'clock in the morning, and I still don't think we're going to be satisfied. And I don't want to sit here and go through the weeds in order to create more dissatisfaction and more acrimony than what there currently is. So with that being said, I'll be happy to answer any questions about the information I've given you guys here tonight. Or if you guys want to proceed in the direction of going based upon what we've been doing as past practice for the last year, I'll be more than happy to do that also.
When's the budget have to be approved by, Bruce? October 2nd?
No, 30 days prior to it. Correct.
So it's got to be approved next week.
Next week.
And that's the great thing about budgets, guys, is that we can have a budget on September 20th. We can change it on September 21st, September 22nd. We can change it for the next 365 days. And I want us to be comfortable as a community, as a council, as a staff, and as a city going forward together. And I know that if I'm confused and I'm uncomfortable, everybody else has to be confused and uncomfortable because I'm the person that communicates with everybody in this room. I talk to the media, I talk to the citizens, I talk to staff, and I talk to you guys on a regular basis. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not comfortable with this thing. So after working on it for the last 6 months, I still can't sit here and tell you this is the direction I know that the elected representatives of the city of Guthrie want us to go in. And the perfect example is our last council meeting. And until we all get on the same page and have a full understanding of what we do and how we do it and who's working where and how they're doing their jobs on an everyday basis, it's going to be very difficult for us to all go forward. And I take the responsibility in order to make sure that that's going to happen for us going forward.
So how are you going to come up with a budget in 2 weeks?
Easy. I can put together numbers, Brian, as quickly as you can say them. Matter of fact, I can write in the numbers right here, right now, and we can prove it and be off down the road. But I want to make sure that everything goes back to the way it was, and it'll be here in 2 weeks.
That's a joke, dude.
No, it's not a joke. I know what I'm doing. I've been doing it for 20 years, Brian. Because I'm not comfortable. You're the one that asked right now, who's the secret informative?
That question wasn't supposed to go to you, by the way.
It did.
It shouldn't have.
It's public record.
I know, but it should not have.
Okay, let me,
But let's address that. That is a fact, but that conversation was with someone else totally has anything to do with this.
And that's proven my point.
Okay.
That's exactly proven my point,
If that-
is that we're not on the
if
same
that-
page.
If that one message that came to you, all of a sudden you want to change an entire budget?
Yes. How do you know that God didn't intend for you to make that mistake and get it over to me?
How do we know? I guess we don't.
We don't.
Bruce.
We don't. Bruce, if I'm understanding, though, the logical steps here, the first step is to establish a strategic plan.
Yes.
And to all get on the same page.
Yes.
As to what we want our community to be and the steps that we want to take to get to that point. And that has to be the foundation piece for the budget to be developed on.
I agree.
So-
And I made that mistake, and I'll say it right here publicly. I assumed that the capital improvement plan that I spoke of before we went and did our 3/4 cent sales tax, and the one that we had multiple workshops on, retreats on, and submitted to you guys, was what we were working towards, and that was our end goal. Dr. Wood reminded me that that was not our end goal. But in order to have our end goal, we have to communicate with each other. So we can't keep it secret what our desires are for the community. And when asked twice over the last 3 months with no responses, except for Dr. Wood and the mayor, is that we don't know what direction we're going. So it's going to be very difficult for me to communicate back to the staff and for them to communicate to our frontline personnel on where we want to go and how we want to do that on a day-to-day basis.
Well, of course, the strategic plan is more than the capital improvement.
Yes.
That's a part of that.
Yes.
But the strategic plan is larger than that, obviously.
And that's why I'm taking the responsibility of this. That this is my budget and this is my plan. But it's not everybody's budget and it's not everybody's plan. I recognize that now, and that's why I'm willing to go back and step back and do past practice until we all get on that same page. Because we need to have additional information, because I know this plan can work, but no one else in the community knows that this plan can work, because we never actually go out and study what the issues are, or why are we doing our current practices, from how we replace water lines to how we receive calls and dispatch to how we're going out there and treating people on the back of ambulances. That's all information that I believe this council desires and that you guys want to ask about, and we need to go and get and receive and have that conversation so we can have quality discussions, debate, and finally answers and resolutions that we're all willing to live with and go forward with.
Other comments? Cheryl?
I need to kind of get my mind clarified, if possible, please. So I understand, if I do understand it correctly, we are going to continue with the old budget at this point in time.
Yes, with the tweaks that need to be made in order to make sure that we're, within the budget that we need to be, yes.
With the past staff and personnel as was in place in 2016.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Correct.
That none of that will change at this point in time?
No.
Okay. So anything that has been said or done up to this point toward the 2017 adjustments is null and void?
If you guys desire that, yes.
Well, it was never put in.
At this point in time, he said he was going to go back to the drawing board. And I know that some of those critically will run past perhaps budget time. And that being said, the only other thing that really concerns me tonight until a new budget's presented is there was a deficit mentioned last time.
Yeah, and
I want to know exactly where that came from and when it started.
We'll get that information out to you again. I don't know, did you share that information last time, Kim, at the last council meeting? It's approximately $425,000. At that point in time, most of it was personnel within the police department that were either underfunded in the amount of expenditures that were necessary, and also it was difficult to find out because a lot of those personnel were in areas that were difficult for us to find, but once we found out what they were, we were able to put those things in. Now, one thing that has not been a practice in the past is also, in a lot of areas, is obligating fund balance. But out of that $424,000, $220,000 of it was going to be fund balance. That will knock you down to about $200,000. Then another $100,000 of that was going to be grant monies that we'll be receiving this year. And then, as I stated at the last council meeting, is that $100,000 of the $8.9 million budget is 1.1%. We'll be more than happy to be able to find that for the end of the last 2 months.
Is this grant money going to be, was it scheduled to be used for something else?
No, I think it was actually scheduled to be put in there, but it just was never made it to the budget.
Yeah, the money's going into grant fund. It should be over to the general fund to cover the police department.
Okay, on the police department, is this, I'm sorry, is this, pardon me, are we underfunded on the police department? Is that what this is about? Did we not have, did you all not get enough money? Is that what happened, or what? I mean, I'm just wanting to know.
The personnel numbers weren't.
Kim?
Oh, I'm sorry.
There were several problems last year. Part of the problem is in the way that the budget is dictated, that it's put together, in that we estimate the raises that are to be given to personnel before the budget is made. So there's fluctuation in that. So we have to estimate that, then contracts are negotiated, then budgets are made, and that's a mess. Then personnel during the interim city manager were not funded correctly when that budget was put together.
Overtime.
Overtime, of course, turnover was about where it normally is, and overtime funds were cut dramatically, which you can't do that. I mean, we'd love to cut overtime, but you can't.
I mean,
do
the
that.
budget we approved it was cut out of, and you can't do that?
It wasn't cut out of, but, I mean, we need this much, knowing we're gonna have X amount of turnover, and it was cut down here, so we could, have a nice, happy budget. And
But the actual use was still up here.
But
Right.
yes, it was still up here where it always is because of normal turnover. And then, and then the grant thing, we had 2 grant positions, and instead of those salaries coming out of the actual grant funds, they were paid out of salary funds because we transferred officers that were being paid out of salary funds over to grant funds position, and the salaries were paid out of general fund, and when we transferred them on paper, it never got,
Moved.
So it sounds to me
it
like
never got
actually
moved.
It was
And so now we're trying to pull,
fund transfer.
we're getting the money pulled out of the grant fund and put into the general fund right now. So a lot of that money is being offset right now. So when they told you there is this deficit, it's true, but it's not as big a deficit in reality
So were all
as it
all
was
officers-
when it was announced.
All the officers were paid though, right? We didn't.
Yes,
Okay.
all the
That's
officers
what I
were
want to make
paid.
sure, that they were all getting paid. I
Yes.
don't want
And
them being
no
paid.
positions were cut.
to, okay.
I mean, it grew, the department grew because of the grants that we got last year.
So I got a question. So you do a negotiation, we do a negotiation with the union last year, and it was a certain amount. I guess it was the amount that we paid, the 425,000 over, right, in the negotiations. Is that true?
No.
Okay.
The 425,000 is not all police department.
No, not all.
Let's get that established right
You
now.
said police
I wish it
personnel.
were,
You said police personnel, so I was just,
but we start forecasting for the budget early on in the year, right after the calendar year ticks over. We start forecasting what we think, based on general fund numbers, the amounts might be as far as what personnel might get as far as based on their ratings, okay? So we sat down and think based on maybe disciplinary history or length of service, whether they might fall into meets or exceeds or below expectations, and by city policy or department policy or contract, that guarantees a percentage raise. So we can figure that based on current salary. Months later, we will begin the negotiation process, and then based upon continued income to the city, they may get less money, they may get more money, they may get different benefits, which will affect all the predictions that we made early on in the year. It's a weird, cumbersome process.
And those
and-
things aren't really controllable when you're making, at the
Right, and
time that you're
it's not,
making
when
the
you're
budget.
talking this many people and that long a process, it's not something we can wait until September 29th and say, hey, let's all sit down during negotiations today. We'll have it resolved today. You go meet with your union memberships. They'll have it approved today, and we'll go to the council on September 30th, and we'll all be good and go down the road.
So through a course of some underestimation of some items, i.e., for instance, the overtime, and some things that we couldn't control, negotiation processes that happened maybe after the budget was already put together, the city found itself in a slight deficit.
Yes.
And some of that deficit is already being covered by what is identified as fund balances. Is that the right terminology? approximately half of it is already, so that's basically balances that were in the quote, in my mind, checkbook. It's already there. And so while there was a deficit, some of it is already been covered. And what is remaining is percentage-wise to the total budget, very, very small.
Part of the deficit basically was we paid it out of the wrong.
So I'm saying that to reflect that if we do approve an extension of the 2016 budget into 2017, while we continue the process of strategic planning and then budget preparation, we are not going to find ourselves in a hole that we can't get out of, I guess is
That is
where I'm
correct.
at.
No, it's going to have to be monitored along the way.
Well, and I always hate it when someone uses the word deficit when you're talking about the general fund, because you cannot operate at what we think is a deficit.
Just let everyone know, we have $660,000 in this fund that we're talking about cash.
Yeah, we
Today.
were never operating the city in a deficit.
So
There's
where's
differences in department.
where's the Oklahoma Water Fund? What's in that today? I'm sorry, we're done with the police, I think.
1.4 million.
1.4 million.
Yeah, I handed August 31's treasurer's report.
Thank you, Chief.
If you look along.
Thanks,
the-
appreciate that.
If you look along the right-hand side, all of those, that's money in the bank. In each of those funds.
Which one is it?
The one she just handed out, this one?
The treasurer's report.
Yeah.
So on that, because that's a question I had, and now just getting the budget I have, and we're not going to obviously go through the budget unless this is last year's budget. I assume this is the proposed budget that we're scrapping here.
Yeah. We're deferring.
Where are we at on the low water dam? I mean, I know we did the engineering.
We'll be talking about that at the next meeting, at the public works meeting, next meeting. I'll be bringing
Where
that
are
up.
we at on it?
I will be talking about that at the next meeting in
I
the public.
understand that, but have we broke ground on that at all?
We'll be talking about that upcoming, I promise, Brian. Give us 5 minutes and we'll be right there. Because it's on here right there, number
Oh,
5,
talking
next
about
meeting.
right here.
Yeah,
Okay.
tonight.
I thought you said next meeting.
No, tonight.
Okay.
Tonight and next meeting,
Okay,
to be
good enough,
more
good enough,
specific.
good enough.
Okay, so we have a lot of work to do. We have strategic planning, capital improvement, prioritization, budget development.
Can we get a sense of what the steps will be, like when we'll do, like next meeting, we're going to hit these basic things based on some of these goals, strategic planning, the budget, all that
How
stuff?
quickly can you guys give me back what you guys want to see with the city? Because that's where we're currently at.
Well,
If you give me a date where you promise to give me all the information that's in your mind about what you want the city to become, that's the first step.
Well, strategic plan isn't typically done by email. It's typically done by a room where you sit. and
No,
talk
but
about these things.
that's the problem we've having it, as oftentimes when we're doing that, we have nothing but group think. Is that I want us to be able to brainstorm all these ideas and give me the reasons why you guys ran for council, why you wanted to be elected, what you wanted to see changed, what you like to see from other communities, how you want to benchmark us against the surrounding area, and what you want to see us look like in 3, 5, and 10 years. Each and every one of you have that inside of you. Each and every one of you have expressed that to me personally. And if we start there, when we do come together, we can all communicate back and forth on exactly what's inside of us and what makes us tick, what we want to see out of our community, and what our particular constituents, whether it's the people that we are friends with, we go to church with, or our ward, are telling us on an each and every day basis what's most important to them right now, what's most important as compared to the survey we did, and finally, what comes from each and every one of those individuals on a daily basis that you can hear from saying, hey, while we're out there, this is what we're running into. This is fantastic, this is horrible, but we're all going to communicate that together. Each and every one of them have put together a plan. I have a plan, it's right here in front of you. Now we need you guys to give us your plans too, so we can all get them together as a team, as a unit, and go forward together.
Okay, so one is, I think the procedure would be that you have specific questions, which I thought were good questions you just articulated, but when you ask for this information, you just said, what do you want? You need to ask us specific questions. It'd be nice to get us, you had like 8 or 9 questions.
I don't want to
Just ask the questions. I mean, those questions are broad. I mean, they're not giving us any information. They're just giving us, these are the things you want. Question-wise, you can put all those together, and then we need to meet and talk about what that means. and we can all talk about, the rating of these things and whatnot. But it'd be nice to have those specific questions. I mean, you had some good questions right there. You had like 5, 6 great questions. Email us those specific questions. We'll email you back. But you just say, hey, what do you want? I want specific questions. You outlined like 5 or 6 questions.
I'm afraid that I would then limit each and every one of you only to the purpose of those questions. Because at the end of the day, again, it comes down to why are we here and what do we want to accomplish while we're here? And each and every one of us have our own individual goals, and we're here to bring those together in order to find common goals, common vision, and to execute those common goals and visions. And that's why my very first meetings with you guys is that why are you on council and what do you want to see done? And that's the same question I have for you guys here today. Is that why are you here and what do you want to get done? And I don't want to limit you to a specific area or to a specific department or a specific realm within what we do, but give me all of them.
Well, here's the problem. If as a faculty member who's been in the classroom for last 15 years, if I gave a student assignment and just said, give me some answers, what do you think? I won't get a very structured piece of information back, right? But if I ask them specific questions, I'm going to get basically sets of pieces of information I want back. So as a councilman, I'm requesting that you send us a survey with the 5 or 6 questions you had, which again were good questions that didn't talk about specifics. They're just general. Give those to us. We all need a promise to email those back, and then we need to actually sit down and meet about the strategic plan. But I think if you just say, email me what you want, that's not specific. I mean, that's not helpful.
All right, Dr. Wood, I'll give you some questions.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I like the idea of going back and having another meeting, and I'm talking about us going back like we used to do in the summertime when we'd sit down and discuss stuff. And groupthink is good, and then you can come along with individual ideas and say, hey, look, I want to add this to it, or I don't like this. That's what I'm trying to say.
And we've had
As a part of a.
I know we-
Well, and I
Well, I
think
did- and I
when
didn't
you're doing a
go
think
to
tank, a lot of times people have suggestions that you had just, it had crossed your mind, but you think, when it's presented by someone else and the enthusiasm sometimes puts a lot more meat into what you're talking about.
I agree with you, Cheryl, completely. I think at this point in time, because of the culture of our organization, we still need to have individual ideas that are put on a piece of paper where no one knows where they came from. Because oftentimes people may be embarrassed, they may be afraid, they may be whatever, not to give their true and honest opinion of stuff. And that's why I want to make sure that we have that also to put in there, to have those discussions, and it looks like it's coming from me, because I have no problems taking responsibility or putting ideas out there, because I've been shut down a lot in my life, and if I ain't failing, I ain't trying. So I'll be more than happy to take responsibilities for all those things and put them in there and make sure that we have the appropriate discussion on it.
So what's your due date? So we should have like a council due date to send those back.
I'll get that together and get it to you tomorrow.
Oh,
It's going to be.
happening over there, Randall?
All right.
Comic relief.
So are we going to have,
Excited about it.
so I've got a question. So that, when will we then have the budget on the agenda to approve?
Well, we need to do our strategic planning process.
I get that.
Let me answer that,
I'm
please.
trying to clarify.
The-
Question I just asked him, we have to have
Yes,
something budget passed.
We'll have a budget. That doesn't mean it's going to be the budget we're going to execute the next 365 days, but we'll have a presentable budget that's going to be balanced. That's something that's going to give us a framework to continue to utilize that budget as a framework to continue to amend it, shape it, form it in the areas and the ways and the shape forms we want, while everybody's getting paid and we're all coming into an understanding of what everyone's doing, why they're doing it, and how they're doing it.
So is it kind of like a 3-month type of setup?
It may be a year, the way we're having discussions.
Sounds like the
so.
last budget meeting we had a year ago, exact same conversation.
You'll have to ask Mr. Pennell on his budget.
Well,
I'll be more than happy to take responsibility for this one, though.
I'm talking about when you presented that budget last year, it's the exact.
Yeah, that's
same-
great. That's a great thing about it. They're working documents.
Right, so why do we have to have a strategic plan to have a balanced budget?
You don't want to know where we're going as a community?
Yeah, I do want to know where we're going.
That's a
with the
strategic
community.
plan.
But just in a balanced budget, a general operating funds,
How do you know what numbers to put within each one of the line items if you don't know where you're going?
well, that's why we hire you, Bruce, to be quite honest on this deal. And
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you,
quite frankly, we're expecting to have a budget this evening, actually probably some time back.
First of all, you do have a budget. This is my budget. You can approve it because it's based upon my thoughts. But I'm telling you right now that I don't have buy-in from everyone in the community.
Okay.
And I'm willing to
Fair
take a
enough.
step back and admit that I don't have that in order to make sure that we do have that in a time in the future.
I think it's well worth our time to revisit what our vision is, where we want the organization, the city, to be going in a strategic plan, and then see that the budget, just a minute, that the budget matches the priorities that we set. And it could be incremental things, it could be major things. But I think we need to have the foundation piece of a common language, which is the strategic plan of where we want to go.
Well,
Where we
yeah,
wanna go.
and we do, and we probably should have talked about this months ago. You know,
I don't
I mean,
think-
you're talking about it at the 12th hour that we need a strategic plan. And on top of that, again, are we going to be here next year going, well, wait a minute, we're $500,000 in the hole because we did a WAG throughout the year, okay? Because that's what we did last year when Pinnell's budget came out, supposedly. You know, we just wagged it out there, and it was going to be changed all along, just like what you said, Bruce. It was going to be changed continuously. It's going to be monitored. It was going to be added to. It's going to be deleted from. None of that happened, and we're behind.
It has happened, and the other thing about it is that if anybody can come inside an organization that is, what are we at, about $20 million? And 140 employees and know everything that's happening in detail on a day-to-day basis and be able to put that there for you and go, I know everything inside and out within 12 months is lying to you.
No,
I can do it within 2 years. I probably told you that when I came here. Is that first time you have to go around first lap around is you're figuring out who's where, who the stakeholders are, what exactly are you guys' current priorities. Then the year after that, you start mending and melding and molding each other to figure out how we're going to work together, because each and every last one of us take 8 hours a day away from our families, coming with completely different backgrounds, different experiences, different knowledges, different educations, and try to work together for a common cause. And all I'm asking is that we take out some additional time and make sure that we get that common cause, because over the last year I thought we were working for that common cause. And I take responsibility in stating that we aren't working on that common cause, because I was mistaken the capital improvement plan with our strategic plan. And at the end of the day, all of us in here need to be educated on what each and every department, each and every employee do on a day-to-day basis. And at that point in time, and until that point in time, we can't speak the same language and have the same goals.
So, so again, so I was trying to understand the timeline. When do you think we might have a strategic plan meeting? In October, or I don't know?
John, I'm willing to meet each and every day that you guys are willing to meet in order to go over this stuff and make sure that we're on the same page. You tell me how much time you want to take out, because I'll be here right here alongside of you, working with you, educating you, getting you all the information you need in order to make that happen. But I would suggest that after September, we start having these meetings, and I'll get a game plan for us together on these meetings, starting in October and having them until we all feel comfortable with each other and what we're doing and how we're doing it.
So 2 to 3 weeks for a strategic planning process, and then the
Guys,
budget development.
don't put timeframes on this, because you guys we're all gonna look bad if you start putting timeframes on
Helps
this.
just get
Because
that basic sense.
there's no way all of us will be able to go through just the police department in 1 month and figure out everything that's going on in the police department. I've been here in a year, I just went through negotiations, I still don't understand it all. And I wanted to make changes, but I'm going to do it with respect for the guys out there like that who are willing to go out there each and every day and put their lives on the line for me. So I want to have their input, and there's going to be positives and negatives about these conversations, but there's also going to be some great enlightenment and understanding. So when you guys are taking votes, you guys have a greater understanding on that, because all due respect is that even though you've been some of you guys have been city council members for a year, there's no way you know everything about a city in a year. I still don't know everything about a city, and I've been a city manager for 20 years.